Leaders' questions under Standing Order 36, Deputy Mary Lou McDonald, please.
I am going to be evicted at the start of the last week of term. It's gotten to the point that I may not be able to take up my job next September because I've nowhere to live in the vicinity. Taoiseach, these are the words of Arklow teacher Aoife Nichalachar, who told her heartbreaking story to the media. In a few short weeks, she faces eviction from the home that she's rented for 7 years. She's tried to find alternative rented accommodation. She's tried to buy a home, all to no avail. Aoife, a teacher with a raft of specialist qualifications, has nowhere to go, and she's already told her boss that she may have to leave her job as a result. And Taoiseach, she's not alone. Your decision to remove the eviction ban has thrown thousands of renters to the wolves. It's a nightmare for the mother in Cork who fears her daughter will have to leave the ASD unit in her national school because they can't find alternative accommodation in the local area. For the family in Wicklow, 2 children under 5, a baby on the way in mid-May, always paid their rent, but in 2 weeks' time, they have to be out of the home that they've rented for the last 6 years. Taoiseach, that's the only home those children have known. Gone. For the young woman in Dublin who's being evicted from her home of 2 years, she's worked since the age of 16. She's saved up a deposit but can't get a mortgage, and she now faces the prospect of moving back in with her parents. Government has created this catastrophe, having failed to spend over €1 billion of funding for housing. Little wonder then that the Department of Housing figures released last night show your housing plan in crisis. These figures revealed that government missed your affordable housing targets last year by nearly 60%. Thousands of affordable homes that should have been built have not been built. This is an incredible failure by government in the middle of the most serious housing emergency in the history of the state. It's why large numbers of working people can't put an affordable and secure roof over their heads. It's why those facing eviction have nowhere to go. And they ask, where is the urgency from government? Where are the affordable homes to buy or rent? When you returned as Taoiseach in December, you said that housing was your priority, but your first major decision is to push thousands of working families, single people and pensioners towards homelessness. A Taoiseach tud a milcha teaghlach tóg obair, daoine single agus pinshéirí ag déileo le díchealamh de bhór do chinne. Caicís aig agus fós níl éon phlean agat, agus fós ní féidir leat rála daoine cá bhfuil siad ceappa dul. Taoiseach, we're more than 2 weeks on from your disastrous decision to lift the eviction ban. Your so-called safety nets don't make a lick of difference to people facing eviction in the here and now. And you've no real plan to stop people losing the roof over their heads. And you still cannot answer the fundamental question, where are people meant to go? So, in the absence of a plan that works, you must reinstate the eviction ban until the end of January and then use the time that you will buy to do what is necessary to protect renters.
Thanks very much, Deputy. Housing is my priority and is a priority for the whole of government. I can absolutely guarantee you that. And we appreciate that the country is in the middle of a very deep housing crisis, a housing emergency that affects people in lots of different ways. Younger people and not so young people struggling to buy their first home, people paying high rents, people who are experiencing homelessness. That affects people in all sorts of different ways. But the numbers that were published yesterday, Deputy, show real progress. 20,000 families, 20,000 households provided with social housing of some form last year, their housing needs being met. 10,000 homes added to the social housing stock, of which about 7,500 were new builds. We haven't built that many new social homes in Ireland in any year since 1975. That is a huge achievement and one that we intend to build on. Compare that, for example, with the last year in which there was a Sinn Féin housing minister in Northern Ireland, built less than 2,000 new social houses. There can be no doubt, compare the records of the ministers, there can be no doubt that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael housing ministers build more social housing than Sinn Féin ones, even if you adjust for population. That is very, very clear now. And that's a fact, and one that I don't think you can get away from. In terms of the temporary winter eviction ban, as I've always said, and we always said, it was a temporary winter eviction ban. It exists in quite a number of countries in Europe for the winter period. It has ended, as we said it would, on the 31st of March. And your proposal to extend it, we believe, will make the situation worse. All that will happen is the numbers of notices of termination will build up and up and up, and there will be fewer and fewer homes available. You'll see more people chasing fewer homes when you end it. It's a policy that would make things worse. You may disagree, that's fine, but that is our view, and I think it is one that makes a lot of sense. In terms of people who are facing losing their home in the weeks and months ahead, to answer your question as to where they will go, and I've answered this every week now, I think, for nearly 5 or 6 weeks, there are various solutions. Different people face different circumstances, and there's no one solution that fits all. But one possibility, for example, is a new tenancy, a new HAP tenancy. And we've seen thousands of new HAP tenancies created this year so far. Another option is social housing. Again, building more social housing any year than we have for a very long number of years now. Another option, for example, is the tenant in situ scheme, where local authorities will buy the house off the landlord. There's about 1,000 of those transactions, of those purchases, now in progress, up from only a very small number a few weeks ago. And in some cases, the cost rental backstop is there. And in the very rare number of cases where it's required, emergency accommodation is available as a backstop, but not as a solution.
McDonald?
Well, the one thing that is absolutely clear is that your failure to rise to the housing emergency is having real and devastating consequences in people's lives. And the figures as published reflect the fact that you missed your target on affordable housing by almost 60%. Now, if you count that as achievement, or if you as Taoiseach regard that as an acceptable level of performance, well then God help us all, is all I can say. I've given you 4 examples. Aoife Callacor, I've told you about the mother in Cork, the family in Wicklow, the young woman in Dublin. We could go on and on and on. And despite your glib response to me, the facts are, Taoiseach, that in each of these cases, these people have nowhere to go. You have not provided the safety net, the emergency mitigation that they require. Those are the facts. So you are clearly in a state of denial, and a very, very dangerous type of denial. You seem to fail to grasp what's actually happening out there in the real world. So Taoiseach, I will ask you again to accept that this disaster is looming for these families, and do the only quick thing that you can do, which is to reinstate the eviction ban, and for God's sake, buy the time that you clearly need to get this right and protect these families.
I'll tell you what's happening in the real world. Last year, about 30,000 new homes built in Ireland. In those homes are real people, 30,000 families living in a home that did not exist last year. The kind of house building we haven't seen in this country in a very long time, and we're going to build on that. Last year, more new social housing provided than any year in decades, something that you haven't been able to achieve in Northern Ireland when you've been given the chance and held the housing ministry. Thousands of families in social housing tonight, houses that did not exist a year ago, and there'll be more of them this year, and I can guarantee you that. And the thing that gives me the most hope, the most sense that we're starting to make some progress here, is the very big increase in the number of first-time buyers. About 400 a week now, people buying their first home. And that doesn't include own builds, and it counts couples as just as one. So, if anything, an underestimate. We're seeing hundreds of first-time buyers now, every week, very clear, indisputable at this stage. Only a question as to whether it's the highest since 2010 or the highest since 2007. Sinn Féin wants to reverse that. The motion you have down in the Dáil this week would end Help to Buy, would end First Home. You've gaslighted young people and first-time buyers into thinking that you're on their side. You're not. You will take away the schemes that are working. You want to take away Help to Buy. You want to take away First Home. And that's why we'll be opposing your motion in the Dáil this week.
Thank you.